Chapter 4: Politics and Economics. My beloved disciples, listen well to my words. In the past, I had taught you many things about the mind. I had shared so much with you about the teachings of the mind. I had taught you that the teachings of the mind always hold true, transcending time, region, and ethnicity. Within politics and economics, however, my beloved disciples, there are lessons for you to learn in this age and place where you live now that you did not learn through your religious practice in your past lives. You do not know how to interpret and comprehend the politics and economics of today. In the past, I did not teach you the way of politics. In the past, I did not teach you the way of economics. I had taught you in the past to detach yourself from the world of politics and economics and seek only to find serenity in your mind. I say to you again in this lifetime that even in this age, finding peace in your mind, attuning your mind, and walking the path to enlightenment is and will always be the highest of all virtues. My beloved disciples, oh, how confused and perplexed you must be from being tossed about in the politics and economics of today. I cannot withhold my tears when I see you struggle like this. However, my beloved disciples, you must not fall into confusion. Everything that happens and comes into existence in this world are manifestations of the true mind of Buddha in many forms. Therefore, do not flee from politics. Do not unnecessarily flee from economics. Your spiritual training in this lifetime is to show people how they can live their lives in this current world of politics and economics with a pure, right, and peaceful mind. It is to show how people can live in accordance with the mind of Buddha. Yes, the times have changed, yet the eternal laws never will. In order to spread the eternal laws to all people in the world, you must not reject all worldly things. Strive to unearth all the good that lies dormant in this world, and eliminate all the evil that arises in this world. In this, you must find the path of a true religious practitioner. A spiritual backbone. My people, listen well. We have entered an age in which Japan, the nation where I teach the laws, shall lead the world. However, this country, which must lead the world, does not yet have a spiritual backbone to which it can rely on and aspire to in governing its nation. This is a sad state for our nation. A household will prosper only when the head of the household, the master of the home, works diligently with a right mind and unifies all of the family members. In the same way, a political leader of a nation must have a pure and right mind, devoid oneself of desires and attachments, and think of, and only of, the happiness of one's people. When such a political leader governs the nation, that nation will naturally govern itself and will naturally find peace. However, Japan of today has no laws that it can devote itself to. The nation has no laws or teachings that it can believe and follow. I believe that this is a deplorable state. Do you think that a nation is eternally imperishable? Nations have continued to change by the age, region, and people. However, even if the nation's name or boundaries have changed, the eternal laws have always existed behind it. The eternal laws have always been present. The eternal laws continue to flow from Buddha to faithfully manifest his will on this earth. The power to change the world. I say to you that from now on, you must not only practice religious discipline, you must not live only for the purpose of training yourself. Your strong devotion to religious discipline must awaken the souls of a great number of people. The religious disciplines that you practice, along with the group of those who also practice their disciplines, must have the power to change the world. The element that will change a society fueled by greed must be free from greed. I believe that the actions of those who have severed their worldly attachments shall change this society, confused and perturbed by greed. True attachment is your aspiration to walk the path leading to Buddha. This great, true attachment may be held by all people. However, false attachment is a mind that places yourself solely in this world, seeks only for the glory of this world, and strives only to make your life easier in this world. You must abandon these false attachments and embrace the great true attachment to walk towards Buddha. Perhaps attachment is not a good word to describe your aspiration to walk the path leading to Buddha. A better word may be affection. No, even better are the words strong traction. You could call it a power that creates an unbreakable bond between you and Buddha. You could also call it a power that raises you infinitely closer to Buddha. Therefore, from this point on, change the ways of the world. Change the form of the world. Change the structure of the world. Change it through the soul power. Change it through the power that comes to you when you become one with the great Buddha. Change it with your peaceful mind, which is free of worldly attachment. There are those who strive to change the world through revolutions. There are also those who strive to change the world through violence. There are those who strive to change the world through the shedding of blood. However, I will not take such a stance. To change the world, you must have a peaceful and harmonious mind. If a nation is created through the subversion of another, that very nation shall someday be overthrown by violence. Revolutions waged at the cost of blood shall someday invite the spilling of a profuse amount of blood in the future. You must not use these methods. When you go forth in changing the world, you must keep a peaceful mind at all times. You must value the tranquility of the mind. Make harmony your foundation when you go forth in changing the world. The world must be changed through the advancement of harmony itself. You must do away with extremes. Center yourself in harmony and strive to bring prosperity to all. The truth about politics. The most deplorable aspect of Japan's politics today is the constant fighting over power between the various political parties. Each political party advocates and fights only for their own interests. Some may call this democracy. However, I do not believe that this way of politics is in line with the will of Buddha. To be truly in line with the will of Buddha, all political parties must come together and sincerely think about how they can bring light and happiness to the world and to the minds of all people. They must be resolute to make proposals about these matters. Know that democracy ruled by desire is not the true form of politics. Do not confuse freedom with arguing over your interests based on greed. Do not contrive freedom as the freedom to fulfill your own greed. Freedom is not to be found in the vying of desires. This must not be accepted as true democracy. Democracy must not be ruled by greed. Democracy must not be ruled by worldly passions. You must not choose a candidate for your own political gains, for your own benefits in life, or for your own personal desires. You must not let politicians govern the nation for these purposes alone. Politics become praiseworthy only when they serve to create a society that satisfies the many. No, it must serve to create a society that satisfies all people. To realize this, you must rid your mind of strife. If strife remains in your mind, true harmony will never be born. There are many political parties fighting with each other at this very instant. Can you comprehend how deplorable this situation is from the eyes of Buddha? Even the different factions within the same party contend with each other and fight to become the next party leader. While there is a part of this that is in line with the principle of progress, why is it that this feeling of doubt lingers? This is because people dislike having leaders who favor conflicts and disputes. From a certain point of view, the arguments between the common people could be seen as silly, childish quarrels. However, how could the nation's people live in peace when they see their leaders always bickering with each other? How can the common people live with calm minds when their leaders are at war? How can people find harmony? How can people attune their minds? There is nothing here but contradictions. There is nothing else. Those who seek to be leaders must value order and harmony. They must be respected by many others as virtuous people. There must not be any rude arguments in the Diet, in a place where the nation's politics are debated. Politicians must restrain themselves from shameful actions. Moreover, no matter how much they wish to win an election or desire to expand their circle of power, politicians must strictly refrain from words and actions that ostracize or criticize others. You must not acknowledge these sorts of actions as parts of freedom of speech. The poor state of politics is caused by the poor state of the people's minds. Politics are carried out by those who are chosen by the people. If the politicians chosen by the people are governing the nation without spiritual values, then it holds true that the people who chose them are also lacking spiritual values. That is not the way it should be. You must practice politics of sincerity, politics that come from your heart. Choose politicians who will put their heart and soul into serving the people. Choose politicians who will put their heart and soul into making the world a better place. This is the trend that we must create. The politics of today are in a pitiful state. If you do not know who to choose as your representatives, choose first those who are virtuous. Elect the most virtuous person to represent you. The power of numbers must not determine the election's results. The amount of funding must not determine the election's result. A person must not be elected solely based on one's political skills. It is essential that those who are close to Buddha are chosen as your representatives. Politicians must not bring their factional fighting into politics. Instead, they must constantly think about the prosperity and happiness of their nation's people. The truth about economics. My beloved disciples, many of you seem to be confused and perplexed by today's economic principles. You do not know what to think of these economic principles. You do not know what the relationship is between economic principles and Buddha's truth. There are many who are suffering because of the economy. There are many who are in degradation because of the economy. There are many who create great attachments because of the economy and start losing their spiritual values. If this is the kind of age you live in, then you must live within the economy and transcend it at the same time. There should be a way to live in such manner. No matter how much you refine your mind, as long as economic principles exist in this world, you cannot escape from them. Thus, it is essential that you choose the right path in the frame of these economic principles. This way of life corresponds to that of right action, that discipline of the Eightfold Path which I had taught you long ago. In the past, many of you had renounced the world, but had lived your lives without ever knowing the true nature of right action. Be grateful to Buddha that now, as you are born in this age, you have been given the opportunity to study and learn the true nature of right action. You are practicing true right action if your thriving enriches the lives of those around you, which in turn enriches the nation as a whole and brings happiness to a great number of people. If the principles of economy are practiced properly, it can lead a great number of people to happiness. However, the economy cannot merely exist on its own. The economy must act as a driving force that will further refine and enrich your mind. The economy must serve the mind. That is the true nature of the economy. Should your mind start serving the economy, or should your mind be enslaved by the economy? This is not how you, as human beings, should live your lives. My people, from now on, keep these lessons well in your hearts. The economy exists for your minds to become rulers of it. Therefore, the economy must not enslave your minds. Blessed are those who prosper with a pure mind. Those people must use their economic power as a force to greatly refine their minds, gain many opportunities to train their minds, and influence a great number of people. I say to those who do not have much financial power, do not make this a point of great suffering. You must not allow yourself to suffer at the hands of the economy. You must not allow your poverty to become a source of suffering. You must not allow financial failure to cause you suffering. Even through these troubling times, you will always have something that is eternal. You will always have the ultimate task of refining your everlasting mind and soul. This is your last task and the first. This is your first task and the last. The task that has been given to you is for you to continue refining your mind, no matter what circumstances you are in. You must continuously refine your mind through these economic principles. You will realize that it is possible to refine your mind and train your soul while contributing to the economic principles. Think upon it. If your work truly benefits others, the value of your work, which is measured by money, should come back to you as wealth. In that light, if you are poor, think about whether you have been working for the prosperity of others. People must practice introspection in the principles of economics as well. Do you think that it is possible to remain poor when you are truly working for the benefit of others? If you are truly working for the benefit of others and do not prosper and are always in a financial crisis, it is because you lack wisdom. You must use your wisdom. Use your wisdom, and the economy will grow. Use your wisdom, and the economy will beam with light. Use your wisdom, and you will not fail. You may be wondering why you are not prosperous when you are working so fervently for your ideals and doing something truly good for society. Most likely, you are not using your wisdom to the fullest. What does it mean to use your wisdom? It means to use your time right. It means to bring the most out of other people. You must always remember these 2 points. The wise have complete control over time. The wise shall command time freely, as they desire. Time shall be their ally and their weapon. Time shall be their lifeblood and their sustenance. This is what the wise are able to do. There are many examples of people who, in addition to making full use of their wisdom and time, make full use of the skills of others and lead the way to success. It is important that you utilize other people wisely. The economy will grow when all people are used to their fullest. The economy will grow when you are used to the fullest. As you observe the potentials of all people, the economy will produce a great power and provide many people with great opportunities to train their souls. There is neither economic exchange nor contact with others for the disciple who sits alone in the temple, practicing Zen meditations all day long. However, it is certain that when you enter into the workplace and engage in your daily work, you will be confronted with the question of how to fully utilize people within the principles of economics. There are many things to be learned as you try to accomplish this. You must make full use of the wisdom that you have gained through those experiences. Learn to be content. I am sure that you have heard the phrase, the right person in the right place. I am sure that you have heard the phrase, the right person in the right place. This phrase means to place people in jobs that best suit their capacities, talents, and abilities. People may find it difficult to understand and affirm this idea of positioning the right person in the right place. In many cases, it is because they cannot evaluate themselves correctly due to strong desires and greed. You must realize that people find joy only when they are utilized in accordance to their capacities. You must not forget that a saw has a happiness of its own. A wood plane has a happiness of its own. A chisel has a happiness of its own. A saw is useful in cutting wood. Performing this task well is joy to a saw. To a plane, smoothing wood is joy. And to a chisel, cutting grooves in wood is joy. The saw, plane, and chisel are all different and are each precious. Each and every tool is valuable and indispensable. However, if all people in this world say that saws were the most wonderful, then all people scramble to become saws. If popular opinion was that planes were wonderful, then everyone starts wanting to become a plane. However, it is because the world is filled with many different people, and because each person has a different job and responsibility, that the world becomes a better place. Many of you may have it as your goal to become as a noticeable saw. However, in order to do the work of a saw, great power is required of you. You must be bold, decisive, quick to act, and quick to complete the task assigned to you. Those people who have such characteristics shall take on the role of the saw. However, there are also people who are well organized, love to be of service to others, and are able to pay delicate attention to the needs of others. This kind of person may not suit the role of a saw. This kind of person should work as a plane, striving to bring a gloss to and smooth the surface of the wood. For this is the way to bring the best out of one's true characteristics. There may also be people who have dedicated their lives to a specific trade. They may desire to perform a specific and particular, yet powerful job. The job of a chisel will fit these people. They will prove useful by cutting and carving intricate details. For this is what a chisel does. There may be people who mock specialized jobs. There may also be people who become self-derogatory for doing these kinds of jobs. However, these jobs are important as well. You cannot make a Coke with a saw or plane. You can only make a Coke with a chisel. Therefore, do not forget that there is a right person for the right place. Some of you may become company presidents and face many hardships and turbulence. But it is a mistake to think that you have to become a president yourself to find happiness in your life. The hierarchy of superiors and employees is limited only to this world and is not the true hierarchy. Under the eyes of Buddha, when each and every person is assigned to the job that is right for them, then and only then will everything become better. Gratifying everybody's desires is by no means a wonderful thing. If everyone who wanted to be president was made such, one after another, the employees of those companies would lose their jobs and be forced to face great suffering. Remember that the person who has the capacity to be a president is the person who should be the president. Therefore, do not lament living a life that is in line with your capacities. Of course, those who are company executives should be fair in promoting and positioning their employees. In turn, employees should also desire fair treatment. However, I wish for you to remember this analogy of the saw, plane, and chisel. Know that each tool proves its use and finds joy only when it is used in its rightful place. There is no true joy for those tools if they are used in the wrong place. Learning to be content is in no way being negative. Learning to be content is to know yourself well. Learning to be content is to know your capabilities. Learning to be content is to know your abilities. Learning to be content is to know your place in life. It is to know where your calling lies. It is to know where you shall accomplish your mission. This is what it means to learn to be content. Progress in an appropriate manner. Now, I will teach this philosophy of learning to be content from a different angle. I feel that this philosophy is not being put into enough practice in the worlds of politics and economics. It seems that all people have become obsessed with increasing numbers or profits. You must realize the importance of the philosophy of learning to be content. This teaching will introduce the principle of harmony into this masculine society, which pursues only progress. Through the practice of learning to be content, you can stay away from extreme ideas on both ends of the spectrum, and you can hold aloof from the two extremes of top and bottom. You can discover a life that knows to be content when you leave the extremes of the left, right, top, and bottom, and enter the path of the middle way. Therefore, those involved in politics must also fully understand this philosophy of learning to be content. Nothing will come of trying to fulfill your lust for authority. Learn to be content and think about the way that will bring the best out of you. The same can be said of the economic world. The growth of a company may be a happy thing, but there is no limit to the prosperity and growth that a company can experience. The pursuit of higher numbers of greater production is not necessarily righteous. You must remember that prosperity and growth is righteous only when it brings joy to people. Learning to be content does not mean that you should apply the brakes on progress. It means that progress must be made in an appropriate manner. All things will end in failure when people do not consider whether their progress is appropriate for them or not. Even the trees should grow in an appropriate manner, and so should the grass and flowers. If a sunflower grew to be 10 meters tall, the sunflower would suffer. It would be pressed, panicked, and would suffer as it tries to draw sufficient moisture from the soil to maintain its life. 2 meters is the appropriate height for a sunflower. Furthermore, there is another way to think about this. You may be happy when a persimmon tree bears much fruit. However, you must think about what would happen if that tree bears too much fruit. The branches of the tree would bend under the weight of the fruit, and the flavor of the fruit would suffer. If the fruit tastes bad, then all the work that the tree did would be in vain. Bearing much fruit will not necessarily bring joy to others. If the fruit is not sweet, no one will be happy. Thus, it is best that a tree bears an appropriate number of delicious fruit. It is not right that the harvest be bountiful at times and poor at other times. It is not right that the quality of the fruit always changes, or that the quantity fluctuates to more numbers or less. Do not forget that it is right that the tree always answers the expectations put on it, bearing an appropriate number of persimmons that taste as sweet as they should. It is important that all success be attained appropriately. In all things, you must neither do too much nor too little. The middle way is, by no means, a way to bring you tentative success. It is the way that will bring you infinite success. Now, reflect back on your work and see whether you are seeking something that is not appropriate for your capabilities. Examining yourself in this way will open the gates to the middle way. Do not forget this. People are apt to put on a facade and try to look good in front of others. They seek superficial success and undeserved profit. You must always remember that your soul will never become opulent from superficial profit and frivolous pomp and glory. Progress from the middle way. When you find yourself in the midst of success, do not grow proud of your results. In times of failure, always keep encouraging your mind. There is a way to avoid both of these extremes and enter the middle way. When foolish people attain a measure of success, they bolster their ego, take on airs of superiority, and say things that are cruel and inhuman to others. Then, when those people are faced with negative circumstances and fall into the pitfalls of failure, no one will be there to lend them a helping hand. Moreover, if people who have sunk into the depths of despair become self-abusive and complain, they will be avoided by those around them, for their complaining depresses the minds of others. It is also the way of the wise to avoid socializing with those people who darken the minds of others. The wise will not spend time with people who gripe and complain when they are in the depths of despair. So, should you ever find yourself in the depths of despair, you must keep encouraging yourself and go forth with great strength to find the light of hope. When you take that powerful first step, when you continue in strength, taking that second and then third step, you will start gaining the recognition of those around you, and you will be able to return to the golden road, to the wondrous road of the middle way. This is how success is achieved. My people, always have the teachings of the middle way as the principles of your life, and seek to progress from within the middle way. Whether it be in politics or economics, seek to live in and progress from within the middle way. For the middle way is a road that does not harm people, but loves all people and brings them happiness instead. The middle way for the nation. You may have thought that the principle of the middle way was meant to be applied solely to the minds of each individual. You may have been applying this principle only to your mind and limiting this principle to the lesser vehicle. However, the principle of the middle way transcends the lesser vehicle and applies to the realm of the greater vehicle. Just as it is important for each person to live the middle way, living the middle way is and will continue to be just as important for societies and nations. In the international world, conflicts between nations are escalating and creating serious problems. At times like these, you must have a standard for your way of thinking. You must see all issues in light of the middle way. The greatest key to coordinating the bilateral relations between Japan and the USA or any other nation is to find the middle way. You are apt to think that seeking only the interests of your own nation and ignoring the interests of other nations will lead to the flourishing of your nation. But this is not what happens. If your nation is the only one to flourish, causing other nations to decline, then international trade will become impossible. You must understand that the world becomes a wonderful place and wondrous international economy becomes possible only when both your nation and other nations become wealthy. Therefore, do not seek only for the benefit of your own nation. The mind of Japan as a nation has grown narrow. In our narrowness, we have developed the tendency to seek for only our own interests. That is not the way it should be. Our nation must have a mind that can provide great love. Our nation must pay more respect to those countries which have trained and guided our nation in the past. Our nation must also give more love as a teacher upon those other countries which follow behind us in development, dreaming to one day become like our country. We must do our part as a teacher and educate them. We must do our part as a teacher and guide them. Our nation must not forget the favors that the developed nations once gave to us. It was only because those developed nations taught Japan of their philosophy, culture, and economic principles that Japan was able to grow to where it is today. Thus, now that our nation is in the position to guide, we must think about how we can return our favors if we surpassed those who were our teachers in the past. Do not forget to be respectful of them. We must do what you can for them. Though our abilities may have outgrown them, do not be prideful. Do not become proud and arrogant. Furthermore, just as Japan was aided by those developed nations in the past, is Japan able to give guidance and aid upon those nations that follow behind us? If some developed nations have become fearful because they have been rivaled and surpassed by Japan, and if those nations have chosen to withhold aid, cooperation, and guidance from developing nations, their actions will turn out to be an act of self preservation on a national level. Do not forget that the basis for all prosperity and progression is found in the middle way. Do not forget that the middle way will lead all things to progress. You must have a global perspective on political and economic matters and try to solve them in light of the philosophy of the middle way. I strongly say to you that you must not think only of your own nation's benefits and interests. Always remember that you shall thrive only when you help others do the same.